the memo. Derrick Rose can go upstairs.
Two of Gimme the Hot Sauce, our special guest coming up in just a few minutes. The play-by-play voice on Bulls Radio, Chuck Swirsky, is going to join us. And if you're watching on YouTube, maybe we can get him to dance for us a little bit. I'm not sure if he'll do that, but we'll see what we can do. Stacey is not with us in the Hustle and Flow studio because he is recuperating from hip replacement surgery. I guess that's a good place to start, Stacey. Tell all your fans how you're doing.
America. I'm a new man. I got a brand new hip, baby. I think it's like 18 years old. I'm out here doing the moonwalk now. Oh, Lord, I'll be out to running some sprints. I'll be out to do all kind of things that I couldn't do. I was in a lot of pain. Bulls Nation, you had no idea how much pain I was. And finally found some time, Mark, to go in and get that taken care of going into the season. I didn't want to go in. I had bone on bone, which is very excruciating pain. And kind of forced me to go get it done. So right now I'm recuperating and I feel 1,000 times better. I'm over here at the Thug Mansion and down here, and I'm relaxing. My girlfriend Dawn is my nurse, making her put a candy striper outfit on every day, and so she's doing a great job of nursing me back. So this is really her second time nursing me back because I had COVID in December. And she nursed me back from that. And then, she's nursed me back from this hip replacement surgery. So, but main thing, shout out to, Midwest Orthopedic on Rush, man. Dr. Karras, boy, I tell you, and his staff, unbelievable staff. Dr. Karras is, hands-on, had me relax. I was really nervous going in there. Surgery was on Tuesday. I had to be in there at 5:00 in the morning. Surgery started at 7:30. So you can imagine I was nervous. I've had knee surgery before, knee scopes, but this is something totally different. And, Dr. Karras and his staff, and I tell you, they really made it an easy transition for me. So shout out to Dr. Karras and Midwest Orthopedic on Rush.
So you don't have to be just a three-point shooter anymore. You can beat guys off the dribble again.
Well, you know what? I always had the mid-range game. I got that DeMar DeRozan mid-range game. I shoot like Steph Curry, but now I can go in the post when I get a mouse in the house.
There you go.
Now. See, before I couldn't go. When I had the bad hip, I couldn't go inside. I had to shoot as soon as I came past half court. And then, Mark, if you wanted me to get back transition defense, I did. I stayed on the other side. See, now I can get up and down the court, and I feel so much better. And I advise anybody, that may have any kind of joint pain, whether it be your knee or your hip, and you have to have that type of surgery. I'm going to tell you something. Don't wait. Get it done. It's not as hard. I literally was walking after surgery. As soon as I came out of anesthesia, I was up walking. I'm walking now. It's amazing. I have no pain in the hip whatsoever. When I went in, Mark, on a scale to 0 to 100, my pain level was over 100. It was that bad. And now coming at right after surgery, I would say if my pain level is the pain level for the hip is 0, zip for the hip, but just the surgical part,
right.
Just because you had it when they beat you up in there, whatever. That's the only thing that's sore, but that's not even sore compared to what I was dealing with before. I'll take that all day of the week.
So you're not here today, and Whispers took your chair. Can you believe that guy?
You know what? So he's actually sitting on my side. I was like, is he on my side?
Yeah.
I said, okay.
I got the good banners.
See, you know what?
Cheap stuff on my side.
When I'm at when the boss is away, the cat will play, as they say.
That's right.
And then you order pizza.
Yeah.
You order pizza. Blue Malnati's.
Yeah, we haven't done that in months. But
we haven't done that in months. I can't even remember last time we had food.
The kegs are reloaded too.
At the Hustle and Flow Studios.
Oh yeah.
And now he orders, and the beer was working today.
That's right. 2 new kegs.
2 new kegs. And I saw them drink, both you guys drinking two big flasks of beer, and now we got Lou Malnati's. And I'm like, wow, when I'm away to get all that stuff. Oh, Lord, see America, see how you're creeping?
The Whispers and Shanowski show just started.
Oh, man. That'd be canceled in a week, I think.
That's the message, Jim.
Wait, we just lost all of our subscribers.
Oh, man, the Whispers and Shanowski show. That didn't even sound good.
No, that ain't flying. No.
Doesn't flow.
Oh, no. That sounds like a bad medicine.
Hey, we want to say hi to everybody who's watching on Twitch, who's watching the live stream. Hello. We're trying to grow that audience. This is our third or fourth week doing that. And we got a special poll question going on right now. You can check that out, and you can vote if you go to our Gimme the Hot Sauce Instagram page. The question is, should the Bulls trade for Utah Jazz All-Star center Rudy Gobert? That is the hot rumor in the NBA these days. Your options are simply, 1, yes, because Rudy Gobert offers elite rim protection. Your second option is no, doesn't give you much on offense and has the massive contract. And 3, yeah, I'd do it, but only if Patrick Williams is not included in the deal. So, Stacey, you've been reading the rumors. It seems to be picking up a lot of steam right now. And you know what they say, where there's smoke, there could be some fire. And we're hearing that AK really likes the idea of bringing in a long rim-protecting center to give them a different look on the defensive end. Now, for the way I look at it is, I like Rudy Gobert as a rim protector, but I don't know if I'm willing to take on that contract, especially if you have to include Patrick Williams in the deal.
Well, that's the thing, Mark, is that, he brings a big contract with him, and then you're going to have to give up something to get something. And, I'm a big fan of Patrick Williams. I've said that all along. I think this kid has the ability to be a star player and be a real key cog on this Bulls team. So I would be like against that move. I think, when you look at what Rudy Gobert brings to the table, and I think this is where they get in trouble in Utah, is because during the regular season, he stands out with rim protection and doing the things that he does, the block shots and making shots difficult. But when the playoffs come, they clog the middle and they force him out where he has to play pick and roll. And that's where he's not effective at all. And once you take him out the paint, you lose that rim protection. And then you have a big guy out on the floor that has difficulty staying in front of, smaller players. And then that's how you take advantage of him. And then on offense, he doesn't really do anything except dive cut. He doesn't really have any offensive game down there on the block where you say, let's throw the ball inside to him, let him go to work, play off of Donovan, Mitchell and all the other guys. He's a pick and roll dive guy, Mark. And when you have a pick and roll dive guy, he doesn't get the ball, then he stands in the middle and it kind of clogs up the middle for drivers like Mike Conley Jr., Mitchell, whoever wants to put the ball on the floor and get to the rim makes it very difficult.
Yeah, and some of the trade proposals I've seen are just crazy because both teams are over the salary cap, so you have to match the money within 15%. And I saw one proposal, in order to add up to Rudy's $43 million that he's due next year, the Bulls are trading Vukovich, Patrick Williams, Kobe White, and Javante Green. I mean, hey, we're not getting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar here. We're getting a shot blocker.
No, and you know what? Listen, I trust the process with AK. I believe that both him and Mark are do their due diligence of what will fit with this team without having to, mortgage the farm per se. You got to remember, DeAndre Ayton is a restricted free agent. He can accept the contract, and I don't really know if Phoenix wants to bring him back. I really don't. I think that they're going to let him test the market, and if someone offers him a contract that they feel is not worthy, they'll let him go. They'll let him walk or try to do a sign and trade type situation. But I don't really think Phoenix really wants him back. Doesn't seem like it to me. I'm just an outsider watching and listening to all of the people talk. He'd be an interesting guy. You also got Mo Bamba, who's a restricted free agent. Well, I also believe that Orlando is going to let walk because they have so many big guys, and they may get, Chet Holmgren. They may get, the kid Jabari Smith. I mean, they may get anybody that will add another big guy on their roster, which means there's not a lot of playing time for certain guys. So I see him being an opportunity. I hear Mitchell Robinson's name from New York. If I had to take the two, if you say, Stacey, you had to pick between Bamba and, Robinson, I'm taking Bamba because his versatility, because he can at least shoot from the perimeter. He can at least be a threat from the three-point line. I think he shoots like 35% from the three-point line. He's a rim protector, kind of like Clint Capella, a run in-the-end guy. And with the Bulls in transition, you want a big guy that's not going to be coming back laboring down the floor and you got to wait for him to get back into play. You want a guy that can run end-to-end 94 feet, and he's one of those guys.
Stacey, I was looking at the list of free agents before we started doing the show, and really about half the league's centers are free agents. Yusuf Nurkic is an unrestricted free agent. You've got Andre Drummond. You've got a handful. Zubats from the Clippers is an unrestricted free agent. I would like to see the Bulls bring in a guy that could maybe play some power forward and center. I would love to see Bobby Portis come back and be on this team.
Yeah, he would be. I mean, for what the Bulls need, he would be perfect because he can play the 4 and the 5 position. He can also switch out and defend. He's not a bad defensive player. He's a rebounder, but he gives you toughness.
Yeah.
And the bad thing about it is we had him.
Yeah.
We had him and we let him go. And you saw how his career has kind of taken off when he went to Washington, then he went to the Knicks, then he went to Milwaukee. So like he's a guy that can stretch the 4 to 5 position. He can rebound the basketball. He's versatile. He can defend. He's the new NBA type of prototype of stretch 5 that you're looking for. I don't know what he's going to command on the open market. It's going to be tough for Milwaukee to match whatever that he gets out on the open market because he's been basically getting a discount the last couple of years. He's given up the money to win championships.
Right. And
now it's time for him to get paid because this might be his last opportunity because you don't want to keep selling yourself short, Mark, by taking discounts because then everybody wants to give you a discount when it's time for you to be a free agent.
One name I also saw that could be interesting in terms of if the Bulls decide we're going to re-sign Zach to the max, we're going to keep Vooch for another year at his salary. If they're looking to fill in at a lower price range, how about a guy like JaVale McGee? He's unrestricted. He's coming off his last couple of years have been his best in the NBA, and he's good friends with Zach LaVine. They became friends during the Olympic team when they played together. And I remember seeing a video of Zach and JaVale together, and he was saying about how JaVale signed with Phoenix, but we'll get you next time. And you never know how that stuff works in the NBA. I mean, if you got Vooch as your 30-minute-a-night center, I tell you what, JaVale McGee offering rim protection for 18 minutes sounds pretty good to me, especially if the price is right.
Yeah, I mean, he's an interesting, player because, early in his career, he was always the butt of jokes,
Yeah, Shackton.
and then the big thing that happened to him, he went to Golden State.
Yeah.
And he learned how to be a pro, and he was instrumental in what Golden State was doing, and he learned how to be a professional. And I've always liked JaVale McGee as far as his athleticism. I always thought, even when he was in Washington, his first couple of years, I was like, wow, this kid is like unbelievably athletic. I mean, the way he can close out on shooters and block a shot from 10 feet away with his length, run the floor, dunk the basketball. It did, just like typical young players, they make silly mistakes trying to do too much. A lot of it has to do with coaching. I think the last few years he's been around some very good coaches and very good locker rooms that have enabled him now to get a grasp of how to be a professional player. So he's an interesting player to look at as well. Bismack Biyombo, who was sitting on the couch last year, ended up coming out and helping Phoenix, when McGee and those guys were out. So that's a name too to keep an eye on. That may be a guy that you can get that's not going to cost you a lot. He's a proven rebounder in this league. He's a proven shot blocker in this league. He's a high energy guy. He's a guy that can switch out, and he actually does a pretty good job switching out on pick and rolls and can slide his feet 2 or 3 slides because that's what you need your big guys to do, especially as much as the NBA switches. You look at Boston right now, that's one of the reasons why Boston is having so much success against Golden State is because their bigs, Horford and Williams, can guard smaller guys. Even though it's a mismatch, they can stay in front of those guys for 2 or 3 slides, which enables the offside, help, whether it be Smart, Tatum, or Brown, to be able to help them if they completely get beat. That's why the difference in that series.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second, but just kind of wrap up our Bulls talk. The draft comes first. That's on June 23rd. Free agency starts, or you can start negotiating with guys at 6 o'clock Eastern time on June 30th. So basically 1 week later, you go into free agency. So if AK and Mark Eversley find a shooter they really like on the board at 18 and they take a wing guy, don't panic, like, where are we going to get our size from? Free agency comes right after it. So it's really a dual process as to how you can best improve your team. And really the Bulls, with a couple of key additions, can be in that top 4 in the East.
Yeah, they can. I mean, listen, AK knows the draft. They do their homework on their players. They're scouring the college, ranks. They understand what they need to make this team better. And when you're drafting, listen, they're ecstatic to be in the first round this year. Last year they were, in the second round. They don't have a second round pick this year because it was taken away, but they do get a first round pick at 18. And as you know, in the drafts, it's always been guys will fall that were projected to be higher will fall. And one team, it just takes one team, Mark, that like puts a bad mark on a guy, and then everybody's afraid of him. I mean, you remember, you go back to, when you had the kid from Denver, Michael Porter Jr.
Porter.
He was supposed to be the number one pick. He was supposed to be number one pick out of high school, number one pick out of, when he came out of Missouri. And then he had the back injury, and then he slipped all the way down. I think he went to like 14. And, his back has been a problem. And I think that's what scared a lot of people off. But it's not going to be something that derails his career. And if you look at his ability and how important he is to Denver, I mean, he's one of the key cogs. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Denver didn't get to, get deep in the playoffs this year, because you're missing Murray and you're missing him. And, it's going to happen again this year. Someone's going to fall to 18, and the Bulls are going to be able to grab a good player, because at that point, you got to pick the best available player.
Right, no question about it. You mentioned the finals, and it really kind of turned yesterday where Boston's physicality took a toll on the Golden State Warriors. You look at some of the numbers, Stacey, they doubled them up, points in the paint, 52-26. They out-rebounded them 47-31, had a big edge in second chance points. And I think they're just size and physicality has really kind of worn down the Warriors. The Warriors were down 18. They rallied. They briefly took a 1-point lead in the third quarter, and then it seemed like they ran out of gas. They just don't seem to have the physicality to match up with Boston. It looks like the Celtics really have control of the series, especially with Steph Curry tweaking his foot. We don't know. He says he's going to play in Game 4, but he could be hobbled a bit.
Well, I mean, the difference in the series so far, I mean, it's still a long ways. I still believe this series is going to go 7. I think, the way the playoffs have been, especially with Boston, they win the game, and then they look great, and then the next game they come out and they lose, and the other team wins. So I expect this series to go at least 7 games. As you know, Golden State's going to have that 7th game at their place. Golden State is unbeatable pretty much at home. I mean, I know Boston won a game, but they play so much better at home with their crowd. Going into that game last night, I think what you saw was how to beat the Warriors is that you've got to take advantage of mismatches when they're switching and they're putting certain players on certain players. And where that matchup is, that's the difference between a team in the finals and a team in the first round, is that, guys see, coaches see certain things and they say, okay, we got to do this. If we're going to beat this team, if Steph Curry is going to switch on a pick and roll on Al Horford, we got to post him up. We got to get the ball inside, and we got to punish them for doing that. And a lot of teams don't punish Steph. Steph has gotten much better defensively, on ball defense. It's very well documented. He's done a great job of making himself kind of a two-way player. But they still, on pick and rolls, when they want to run those switches, they still have guards guarding bigs guarding, smalls, and Boston's taking advantage of. I mean, look at the rebounds, 47-31, plus 16. Now, what is that telling you? Offensively, you're getting Steph out there trying to box out a Williams or a Horford. So they're getting those offensive rebounds, which is causing a lot of problems. And then also, Draymond Green. Everybody's, the big talk is about Draymond Green. Draymond Green is not playing like Draymond Green. I mean, it's like, he has that one good game where the Celtics win, and he played physical, knocking people down. And Boston was out physical in Game 2. And then they came back and was like, okay, Boston came back to Boston, like, okay, let's bring it to the streets now. Let's play the same way they play and see if they can match up. And you saw they had a hard time matching up last night.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because Draymond Green has always been an interesting topic for me. I've had people, talking conversations about NBA and top 20 players in the league and all this. And I've had people say, oh, Draymond Green's a top 25 player in the league and he's a lock for the Hall of Fame and all this. And I'm like, Draymond Green, he brings a lot of the intangibles. He does a lot of the dirty work. But I've always felt like he was incredibly overrated for what he does on the court.
Oh, man. When you talk about Hall of Fame, absolutely not. I mean, high energy guy, guy who makes their team go as far as like, yeah, he brings the ball up, allows Steph Curry and Thompson and Poole to run and get out and feel but listen, when all those guys were out and he was the focal point, I mean, he didn't do anything. I mean, he was like under 10 points a game. His stats, I mean, he had more turnovers and assists. And listen, let's just be honest. Steph Curry can function without Draymond Green. Okay. Klay Thompson can function without Draymond Green. Draymond Green can't function without those guys. So everybody thinks he makes those guys better, really those guys make him look better than he actually is, because those assists, those shots that they're making, he gets those assists. He's defending people. He's kind of like Dennis Rodman per se, with his energy and the stuff that he does, the antics, getting under people's skin and all that. But, when you talk about him being a Hall of Famer, that's a stretch, because it just, to me, not saying he's not a good player or a system player, but if you put Draymond Green on any other team in the NBA, he'd be a fringe player. I mean, honestly, I believe he'd be a fringe player. I think he'd be like a seventh or eighth man, sixth, seventh, eighth man. You take him off that team in that system, and you put him, let's say you put him in, Atlanta, or you put him in Chicago. He would be an okay player. He wouldn't be the player he is in Golden State, because the guys he plays with makes his role look bigger than what it probably actually is.
Yeah, we found that out about Ben Wallace when he came to Chicago. You take him away off a championship team and couldn't do anything. And he's in the Hall of Fame,
Mark.
which is another.
Wow, Mark. Hold on, Mark. I just got a text from Ben Wallace. He said he'll see you after the show. He didn't appreciate that comment. Okay, I'm trying to calm the big fella down, but he said he'll be seeing you after the show, Mark. He appreciate that.
I tell you what, you can't joke around about that stuff anymore in this world.
No, because you gotta remember, Mark, these dudes made a lot of money. They may jump on a jet outside your house. They might pull up on you at your crib. Mark went out there to get the mail, and there's Ben Wallace waiting for him in a limo. Hey, Schnauski, I need to talk to you. Hey, Ben, how you doing? And all of a sudden, Mark Usain Bolt's back in the house. honey, call 911. Ben Wallace trying to kick my ass.
I think this is a good time to bring in our guest, Chuck Swirsky, because he's always a light in someone's storm. He will turn it into positivity, and we will get a much more positive conversation than we did just then. Give Me the Hot Sauce, episode 82 rolls on. Chuck Swirsky, the Bulls radio voice, is next.
Hey, this is Stacey, King of the Chicago Bulls, also the host of the Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast show. If you like hot sauces and barbecue sauce, then you are listening to the right show. Gimme the Hot Sauce has the best small batch organic sauces to spice up your kitchen. Chicago-style red sauce with a garlic twist, our St. Pat's Verde green sauce with extra avocado and cilantro, and our King's Q, a bold, spicy, and sweet hot sauce that'll spice up your chicken. And we also have one of the hottest hot sauces in our stable, the Chicago Fire 1871, which will have you call a 911. Use code Hot Sauce 21 to get 21% off your first order. That's Hot Sauce 21 and get 21% off your first order. And that's GimmeTheHotSauce.com. Thank you.
Episode 82 of Give Me the Hot Sauce rolls on. It's now our pleasure to welcome in the radio play-by-play voice of the Chicago Bulls, our good friend Chuck Swirsky, kind enough to join us for a few minutes. Chuck, you are so immersed in the Bulls 24/7, and now that the season for the Bulls at least is over, I'm curious, how do you fill all that time? Because you're always at the gym.
Well, I'll tell you what, number one, as Stacey knows, as you know, and Tim, I love my job. And I mean, it's a passion. And I never go through the motions, and I love it. It's a part of my DNA. And so once the off season, actually, this is a true story. So the Bulls are eliminated by the Bucks in 5 games. And the day after the final game of the series, I started working on 22-23. That's how my brain works. And so, I mean, I read everything I could get my hands on. I talk to about 4 or 5 broadcasters a week just to catch up with them, how they're doing first and foremost as people. Secondly, what's going on. And so right now I'm doing a lot of reading. I'm doing a lot of errands around the house, and
honeydew.
Excited about the upcoming draft.
I'll tell you what, Chuck's one of the hardest working men in show business, baby. Always working. There's no days off for the Swirst. So Swirst, talk about a little bit about this season, and how much fun you had doing the season, especially the Bulls with all the success that they had. I know I had a blast this year doing the game. So let our listeners know your experience this year with the way the team played.
Well, you know what, Stacey, first and foremost, it's the people around us in the travel party, because we didn't travel with COVID, Mark, as you know. And so we did games from the United Center in the second floor level, right next to Adam and Stacey, just to their left. And then on the road, we had a broadcast facility downstairs near the bowels of the locker rooms of both the Blackhawks and the Bulls. So we traveled, and it was great. And it was great to be back with Stacey and Adam and the crew. So we had a good time. But what made it such a special time was the fact the team became relevant. And I was talking with Stacey about this off the air, is that with Arturas and Mark and Billy and the culture being developed now, I think our fan base has been re-energized. And I'm excited. I'm pumped up for 22-23, whatever the future holds. And we're anticipating, obviously, that it's going to be another busy offseason. To what degree, I'm not sure. But last season was great. And it was great because of team chemistry with guys like DeRozan and Zach and Vooch. And then the satellite players, you know, you're bringing a guy like Alex Caruso, and then all of a sudden this team comes together. And then, of course, injuries happen and things kind of got derailed. And unfortunately so, because I was really anticipating a long run in the playoffs.
Yeah, Patrick Williams is out in Los Angeles now working out with DeMar DeRozan, and we've seen firsthand the intangibles that DeMar brings to the team. You know, his veteran leadership, his poise under pressure, his fourth quarter production, which was off the charts. But to see him take a young guy under his wing, that means so much to the development, not only of Patrick Williams, but to this entire roster. What are your impressions of DeMar getting to know him over this last year?
Well, you know what? I missed DeMar in Toronto by a year. And so when I was talking with my friends in Toronto, Brian Colangelo, who drafted him with the Raptors, Dwayne Casey's a very close friend of mine. They love DeMar first and foremost as a human being. Let's forget about X's and O's for a second, because we know what he can do. But it's his heart, it's his leadership, it's the intangibles he brings, what he's doing. You know, not only with Patrick Williams, what he did with Io last year, going down to Champaign-Urbana with Io's jersey retirement. So this is the type of human being we're talking about. They loved him in Toronto, and it was a very difficult deal for Masai Ujiri to make when they acquired Kawhi Leonard. But they made the deal, and I'm sure it stung DeMar, but he went in as a professional with San Antonio and did a great job. This guy is a top-tier player. Not only as an all-star player, I'll tell you what, this man to me is a Hall of Fame player. He is going into the Hall of Fame. I don't think there's any question about it.
You know, speaking of Hall of Fame, we were just having a conversation, me and Mark, before you came on. We're talking about Draymond Green and his impact with Golden State. Chuck, do you see him as a future Hall of Famer?
Yes.
You do.
And because of the success the Warriors had, he's a key piece. I think, you know what, Stacey? I think when it's all said and done, I don't know how many jerseys Golden State's going to retire after this run. They'll probably have at least 5, including Iguodala. But I mean, you know, to me, Draymond Green, and we talked about the intangibles that DeRozan brings to the Bulls. I think Draymond Green, I mean, we saw him at Michigan State. If you told me that he was going to have this type of career in the NBA, I would have said, what? Because, I mean, I thought he was going to be an NBA player. I thought he was going to have a solid career, but the pieces fit at Golden State, and he's a large piece of that puzzle that Golden State put together. And credit the front office and the coaching staff of Golden State for surrounding Curry with different pieces with Thompson, and then you got Draymond Green. And I think they've done a magnificent job building that club from the foundational pieces. And I think he is going into the Hall of Fame, yes. Maybe not first ballot, but one day he will be there.
Hey, Chuck, I think the Warriors are in big trouble in this series with Boston. Boston's physicality, their pressure on defense. You know, Steph is fantastic, and Clay is still, I think, rounding into shape coming off the dual injuries that he had. I just don't think Golden State can handle that defensive pressure for 4 quarters. Do you think that they'll be able to extend this series and maybe possibly win it, or is this Boston's to take now?
Well, Mark, I mean, when you say extended, do I think this series still is going to go very deep? Yes. I will say this. I think Mark is smart. when the Bulls came back, they were down by nearly 20 points in the fourth quarter in Boston early in the season. And Stacey, you can remember this game. The Bulls rallied and won. And afterwards, Marcus Smart called out both Tatum and Brown. Okay. He called them out publicly. He knew exactly what he was doing. I'm not a big proponent of that to go in the media. I think things should stay in the locker room, but it worked. Sometimes it doesn't work. In this case, it worked. They got everyone on the same page. I really thought in the first 30 plus games, this is just my opinion, I thought we're looking at Brad Stevens. I think he's going to pull the trigger on a major trade in Boston. I thought Jaylen Brown was going to be dealt, but they got their act together, and wow. I mean, you know, they put their second half was unbelievable. And I think, again, egos got checked at the door. The two stars, Brown and Green, and Tatum, everyone bought in. And so now you've got Draymond Green battling all these guys, whether it's Brown, whether it's Tatum, and you got Green fighting with each other. And I just think what Boston's doing is fantastic.
Well, it looks like to me, Chuck, that Boston has kind of gone back a little bit to like the 90s style basketball defensively. And they're overpowering the Celtics because the two bigs for Boston, Williams and Horford, are able to switch out on pick and rolls and stay in front of Curry, stay in front of Klay Thompson and make it difficult for them to shoot. And then they're dominating on the backboard. When Golden State switches with Steph Curry on a big guy, they're able to get those offensive rebounds. I mean, rebounds last night, 47-31.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, and I also think Udoka should take a lot of credit for this. Regardless of what happens, even if Golden State comes back to win this series, I think he's done a fabulous job as head coach in his first year. I mean, we know the pedigree. I mean, he played in the NBA, really was not an A-list type player. I'm not even sure he was a B-list type player. But he learned under some of the best coaches in the NBA, and he paid his dues. And, you know, Boston recognized that. And during the season, of course, not only with the leadership of their coaching staff, but they made a key move with Derek White. I think that trade with San Antonio has really helped them big time.
Chuck, let's get back to the Bulls. Obviously a very important offseason. They don't have a lot of flexibility in terms of what they can do in free agency, but they do hold the 18th pick in the first round of this upcoming draft. Stacey and I just talked about it a little earlier, saying that when you pick in the middle of the first round, you kind of have to go for the best player on the board and not worry too much about what position does the guy play. How do you look at this draft in terms of their ability to add a guy that maybe can crack the rotation in his first year?
Well, you know what, the draft, I like about maybe 3 to 5 players in this draft. And then it comes down to scouting and what type of, what type of a scout you really have. I mean, I can go to the gym, you can go to the gym, and we can see talent right in front of us. But can you see a player that says, okay, like he's a little raw, but we can get him in the lab and work with him? I mean, you look at Jimmy Butler. He was the 30th player taken. I saw him at Marquette. Because I'm a college basketball freak. I got the TV on all the time. I saw him play on a really good Buzz Williams team at Marquette. Did I think Jimmy Butler is on the cusp, perhaps, of going into the Hall of Fame? He really is. Did I see this coming? No. But I'll tell you what, you had the coaching staff really work with him. Adrian Griffin just worked with him every day. And then he got his break because he didn't play much as a rookie. And Tibbs, as you know, once he locked in with Tibbs, it was over. I mean, Tibbs and Jimmy Butler, you talk about a guy in Butler, and I know I'm deviating here, but Stacey, how about your first coach is Tom Thibodeau, and you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Everything he's pouring out, Jimmy Butler's taking in. And it was a great first coach for Jimmy Butler. Just like what Larry Bird said about Bill Fitch. I mean, Larry Bird loved Bill Fitch because he got him early, first year, rookie year, and Bill Fitch said, hey, you want to buy in, listen to me. And Bird listened to me, Butler listened to Tibbs. So this draft pick for the Bulls, again, what are you going to get at 18? I think you got to get the best, as you said, Mark, best guy on the board. I don't know. I mean, that could be a handful of 3, 5 players, whatever. And you pick at 18 and you develop them.
Yeah, I tell when fans come up to me and ask me, what are the team going to be like next year? I always tell fans this: trust the process. AK and Mark Eversley and JJ Polk, the Bulls front office, they're going to do their due diligence to build the right team. I mean, Chuck, talk about the building of this team in over a year and a half now, and the job that the front office has done since they arrived.
Well, I think the front office, I like first and foremost, Stace, what they didn't do. They, during that COVID year, they kind of ascertained everything, where they were going, what they were doing. And then they said, okay, we're gonna kind of see if something's out there. And that something out there was Vooch. And I think the way they run the offense, and again, this was a transition for Vooch. And I think you guys would be the first to admit, Vooch was on a scouting report. When you looked at Orlando, it was Vooch, Aaron Gordon, Vooch. I mean, that's what basically people saw. All of a sudden he comes in, you got Zach LaVine, then you had DeMar. And so, they're picking up pieces, they're picking up quality players, Vooch an all-star, LaVine an all-star, DeRozan an all-star. And I love the aggressiveness of this front office. And you know what? If you ask anybody, and Stace, you know this, you played this game, you're going to have some hits and you're going to have some misses. And front offices, it happens to everybody. And so I think this club, led by AK and Mark and JJ, they're not afraid to fail. Okay. And I love that. I love the fact of saying, you know what? We're going for it. And we may not hit a grand slam every time we make a trade, but guess what? We're going to be more right than wrong. And I love that mentality. I love the aggressiveness of a front office when they do it the right way, and they are going to do it the right way.
Well, Chuck, what would you say are the biggest needs for the Bulls this offseason to hopefully be in the position that the Boston Celtics are in right now to get to the NBA Finals?
Well, I would say number one, a rim protector. You've got what Boston did with Robert Williams. I mean, Robert Williams, to me, you go in the paint and he's going to come after you. Okay. And when that presence in your mind of penetrating deep in the lane, and all of a sudden you get a very athletic big man who's coming right at you, you start thinking twice about, okay, I'm going to have to change the angle of my shot. Do I go into the chest? Do I kind of just fade a little bit? All these things race through a player's mind, and you have to make that decision quickly. So when you have a rim protector, I think it helps a lot, because these players in the NBA are so good that they can beat you off the dribble. But if you have a backline defense there, I think it helps. And I think maybe another wing player, a two-way player, because in my opinion, the way this league is going with a lot of shooters, you need two-way players. You can't just afford now to have, he's a designated offensive player, he's going to be my defense. You need guys who can play both ends of the floor.
That is true, Chuck. You've been working for the Bulls a long time, and I always have my favorite moments that I've seen as a broadcaster. Tell our listeners some of the favorite moments you've had and you've experienced as a Bulls broadcaster.
Wow. Well, Stace, I remember opening night, my first broadcast as a Bulls announcer, Bucks at Bulls, Derrick Rose first game as an NBA player. And I love this kid. He's never big-timed me once. I can't say enough good things about Derrick Rose, the way he has treated me over the years. And, my heart absolutely sank in game one when the Bulls played the Sixers, and he crumpled to the floor just to our right in front of the Philadelphia bench in game one. It was an afternoon game. And, since that time, regardless where Derrick's at, whether he was a Bull, then he was with, Minnesota, New York, Cleveland, wherever, Detroit, the truth of the matter is he is terrific. So Derrick Rose will always have a special place in my heart, along with that group, Stacey, of Joakim Noah and Luol Deng, Kirk Heinrich. Listen, that game 6 with the triple overtime with Boston and the Bulls, where Joakim Noah with a strip and a steal, and then he ran racing to the floor, and Paul Pierce fouled him. And I mean, it was an electrifying moment at the United Center. It was crazy. I loved that club. I loved everything about that team. And, you know, then the Nate Robinson game against the Nets, and then the Bulls going into Brooklyn in Game 7, where they were so beat up. No Dang, no Heinrich. You know, Joe's playing on one leg. Bellinelli had a tremendous game. And then they go to Miami and they steal that game. I mean, it was like, whoa. So, I mean, there are so many great moments for the Bulls. But I always remember the Stacey King call with Dragic in Phoenix with Rose. That was awesome.
Did you not get the memo?
Oh man! And I'll tell you what. You know, the thing is, if you think about Goran Dragic, I mean, this guy's had a really good NBA career, but no one ever mentions, hey, you know what? This guy was a terrific point guard. You know, Eddie Fat. You know, what do they remember? Hey, do you remember when Derrick Rose got me?
Yeah, that stays with him. That stays with him, man.
He's
had an amazing career, though. I give it to him.
Yes, he has. Very good career.
Hey, Chuck, what about traveling on the road? You got any favorite memories of hanging out with Neil and Stacey on the road?
Well, you know what? The great thing about Stace is that Stacey is so effervescent, and you know, he's always full of energy, always full of life. Very similar to, you know, when he played at Oklahoma and in the NBA. If you ask those of us who were around when Stacey joined the Bulls, and I was with them, you go into the locker room, you know, win or lose, Stacey was always available. He didn't hide, you know, and come out like 20 minutes after a game. And he faced the music, good news, bad news, he was there. And that's why I respect people like Stacey who said, listen, you know what? The reporters have a job to do. You know what? The reporters, they're just doing their job. They got to ask questions. I get it. And if they ask it respectfully, I'll be more than happy to ask, you know. And so, you know, that's one thing that always comes to my mind with Stacey. And the truth of the matter is, Mark, and Stacey's probably told you this on the podcast, I did DePaul basketball for 14 years. And DePaul was after Stacey. They were recruiting him hard.
Yeah.
And I was immersed in that program, not only with Coach Ray, who later became my color analyst, Joey Meyer and Jim Molinari became very, very, very close friends. I would watch hours of tape with them, sit down, talk about recruits and whatnot. And they wanted Stacey King here in Chicago. And Stacey, you know, probably obviously knows this, but I mean, if you had put Stacey King with DePaul during that run the Blue Demons had post Aguirre and Cummings in the late 80s, oh my gosh, wow. Because you know, Rod Strickland was a magnificent player. People don't understand how good of a player Rod Strickland was, not only with DePaul, but also in the NBA. I think he's one of the best players in the NBA never to make an all-star team.
I agree with you on that. And I was close coming to Chicago. I was close coming to DePaul. I love Coach Ray Meyer. And of all the coaches I met, I always felt like he was the most honest and truth-telling coach I ever met. It's like talking to your grandfather, and you know how your grandfather's not going to lie to you, and he's just honest. And I always felt Coach Ray Meyer was like that. And then, you know, what happened that completely turned the whole thing around, Chuck, was Benji Wilson got killed during that time. And I was scheduled to come on a visit. And my mom refused to let me come to Chicago because she said they were killing kids. And so she wouldn't let me come. She said, you're not going to DePaul, take them off your list. And DePaul was one of my favorite teams. I used to watch DePaul on WGN. They used to have the jerseys out. I always thought that was cool. And they always had, you know, Cummings and Aguirre. I mean, they always had some good teams. Marty Embry, who I'm friends with. That team I would have played on, it would have been Rod Strickland, Kevin Edwards, Dallas Comegys. That was a very good squad, and no telling what could have happened if I'd have joined them. But you know what? I ended up in Chicago anyway, baby. I went around the long way. Who would have thought, baby? Who would have thought?
Yeah, you know, Mark, I was there for the recruiting visits. I mean, Kevin Edwards came in from a junior college in Cleveland. And I mean, Kevin Edwards is another player. Kevin Edwards was under the radar. Kevin Edwards had a really good NBA career, especially with the Nets. And he also played for the Heat. And, you know, Dallas Comegys was a top recruit at a Roman Catholic High in Philadelphia. And I remember when they recruited him. I remember when they recruited Stanley Brundy. I remember Marty Embry from Michigan. And I still stay in touch with Marty. And they had Lamone Lampley. They had some really good players that passed through DePaul. And so you put Stacey in that group in the late 80s. Oh my word. That would have rocked Rosemont Horizon.
Hey, Chuck, now we've come to the favorite part of our show. It's when Timmy Whispers gets to ask you a question. So hang on tight. You never know what he might ask. But our viewers love this part because Tim's a little bit off the wall.
Yeah, so pull your head down tight there, Chuck. so most people don't know about your history here in Chicago, about the, if you get Googled, Max Headroom comes up a lot. And so a lot of people don't even know who that is, especially some of these young kids here working on our show here. But just for the listeners here, that was a comedian who used to pirate in on shows and stuff and crack jokes or whatever. But then they did it for real, and you were on the air at WGN. And he called it the world's greatest nerds. It was, at the end of the day, an ultimate compliment. But that's a piece of Chicago broadcasting history.
The Max Headroom guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was.
Chuck he pirated. He took over WGN.
Yeah. That was creepy. That was creepy. I ain't gonna lie.
And they broke in to live programming. Yeah. To this day, I still don't know who did it. Or how it happened. I mean, it's wild. I mean, it's kind of scary that someone had that control over things. But that happened actually twice. Once on WGN TV, Dan Roan was anchoring, and they broke into his sportscast. And the other was on WTTW, which is the public broadcasting system station in Chicago. And why they mentioned me, they called me a freaking liberal.
Yeah, that's right.
And Chuck Swirsky, nerd, freaking liberal. And again, Stace, there were no cell phones back in those, none, no social media. And so I'm sitting around in my apartment. All of a sudden, the phone's going off, and my friends are calling me and said, "Did you just see?" Well, honestly, I wasn't really watching Channel 11 at the time, WTTW. No offense. But then it became major news. I mean, like big time news. And I mean, in fact, the anniversary just came up a couple of years ago, and the New York Times did a story on it. And I have no clue what happened.
And then
wow,
excuse me.
Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead,
Tim.
Well, then we have to ask about the dancing, because I read up on all the names they're calling it now.
We have to ask about the dance. How did that all start?
Here's what happened. So we did, as you know, we didn't travel, and the Bulls hit a stretch where, like, this is 2 years ago, not last year, but 2 years ago. And they could not, I mean, they had a stretch where they were going with a lot of players that, were probably on the cusp of being in the NBA or G League or Europe or whatever. And they were really struggling. So the Bulls won a game, and I got so delirious, and I was so happy that I just started dancing in the little studio, the makeshift studio we had at the United Center downstairs. This was a road game. Rich Wyatt, who is
our guy.
Yeah,
that's our guy.
The best. And he taped it, and he goes, "Hey, I'm going with it." I said, "Whatever, fine." And then all of a sudden, the next thing we know, it went viral and people picked it up. So you know what? It's not at the expense of the other team. And, if you can't laugh at yourself and make fun of yourself and have fun, period, that's why we're in this business. We want to entertain. We want to have fun. We want to be the extension of the ball club to our viewing audience, for Stacey and Adam, for Bill and myself on the radio. And we never take ourselves seriously, because at the end of the day, there are so many more things going on in our world that are much more important, that for at least 2.5 hours, I want people to be entertained when they watch Stacey and Adam, when they listen to Bill and myself, and put their troubles and their stress away for that period of time, and just, live the moment and have fun, have a good time.
So how do you like all the names they gave? The Flashkey dance, the Swirsky, the Chuckle Shuffle?
Hey, You know what? It really doesn't bother me. I mean,
great stuff.
it's a compliment. I'm glad people are watching. And again, if it gives them a laugh or two, more power to them.
Does your lovely wife cringe when she sees it?
Yeah, she stopped watching long ago.
No. Hey, so Chuck, I mean, let's talk about your Toronto days real quickly.
Yep.
You've seen a lot of great players in Toronto. Who would you say would go down as the greatest Toronto Raptor?
I would say probably Kyle Lowry, followed by DeMar DeRozan, and then Vince. Had Vince stayed in Toronto longer, I would have probably put Vince maybe. But again, Lowry won a championship there, and DeMar left an indelible mark with that franchise. I mean, both Lowry and DeMar and Vince will have their jerseys retired when the organization gets around to that. But I mean, when I was there, it was Vince's rookie year, and it was McGrady's second year, and Bosch came. And I mean, I got spoiled because I saw Vince Carter dunk on people every night. And it just wasn't one dunk a game, Stace. It was 3 or 4. And he was doing a variety of slam dunks. And to see this man play above the rim every single game, it was amazing. And so, I mean, and McGrady was just coming into his own. My only regret is that McGrady, who left as a free agent to sign with Orlando, and McGrady stayed, and they were willing to give McGrady the max. But I don't think Tracy wanted to play like 1A or 1B to Vince. And so he left. But if McGrady and Carter stayed together, there's no doubt in my mind they would have at least won one Eastern Conference championship, maybe several, but definitely at least one.
Well, Chuck, you've been a great sport. We thank you for rolling with all our questions and everything else. And back to the dancing for 1 second. Wasn't there a group, I think it was the new CHGO Sports, they had their whole staff line up and imitate your dance? What did you think of all that?
Like I said.
I was telling the audience earlier, we were hoping we could get you to dance. I guess it all worked. Well, Chuck, I follow you on Twitter. I see some of the wonderful meals that your wife prepares for you. You found a lovely lady, and I hope you enjoy the summer. Yeah, and just
can cook.
Yeah,
and can cook. That's for sure. No doubt about that.
Thanks again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you when the season starts again, when training camp begins in September. It should be a very interesting offseason for the Bulls. Chuck Swirsky, the radio play-by-play voice, our special guest on episode 82 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. Final segment of episode 82 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. We want to start out by thanking and telling you about one of our great sponsors, Jeff Vukovich of Nationwide Insurance. When it comes to insurance for your auto, home, or business, make sure you contact the king of insurance, our good buddy Jeff Vukovich at jeffvuk.com. That's jeffvuk.com. And Stacey's coming off the injured list, but I think the Golden Pipes are still in good shape, aren't they, Stace?
Nationwide is on your side. They're back, baby.
Even rehabbing from hip surgery, the Golden Pipes
Tim, I heard you.
Still
Tim,
sound.
I heard you with a little woo-woo.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need you. I don't need your woo-woo. Okay, stay in the background,
Hey,
buddy.
it's
Okay,
encouraging.
you're Tito Jackson. Stay in the background. Let Michael sing, baby.
Then hand me a tissue.
It's like Jeffrey Osborne, the woo-woo song. When you woo-woo-woo.
Yeah, but his woo-woo was terrible.
I do nothing right.
Hey, we want to thank all the people that are joining us on the Twitch feed. As we said, it's something that's relatively new here at Gimme the Hot Sauce, and we posted a poll question earlier on our Instagram story, and we asked, should the Bulls trade for Rudy Gobert? That is the hot and heavy topic, and the results that we have, Stacey, 58% say they'd be in favor of it only if Patrick Williams is not included in the deal. 39% say yes because he would bring elite rim protection to Chicago, while just 11% said no. So I guess that's an interesting result. What do you think about the fan reaction to that?
Well, the Bulls Nation is very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So it's not like, some other fan bases who really don't know what's going on. Bulls Nation is really, really highly intelligent. Basketball IQ is very high. So I'm for the Rudy Gobert trade if you don't have to give up Patrick Williams, because I think that even though Patrick Williams only played, I think, 17 games last year, I think what he showed you in that Minnesota game, the last game of the year, is something that I feel like you're going to see a lot of. Somebody's ringing my doorbell. This is America. This is why you don't do a podcast from home, because you got the dogs barking and going after somebody right now. Allah.
It's Ben Wallace. He came to the wrong house.
Oh, yeah, it might be. He might take advantage of me. He might take advantage of America. I got a bad hip. I'm recovering. I can't fight right now. I gotta go get the Glock. Click, click. I can't be fighting. I'm shooting, baby.
Yeah,
Allah is trying to get me.
Just don't give me up, Stacey. Don't give me up.
Oh, Mark, I might have to drop down. Ben, I'm not the guy you want. It's Mark Sinatra who said it. It wasn't me, brother. It wasn't me. I'm a big fan. Even when you had the afro and you didn't let you wear the headband in Chicago, I tried to sneak your headband, baby.
That's
I got
right.
nothing but love for you, brother.
The Scott Skiles era, yeah. So we're talking about Rudy Gobert, and we were asking people for their questions, and the one that we picked, our guy Matt, is going with a guy. I wish I could pronounce this. It's Gscimeca. Semeka asked, is picking up Rudy Gobert even worth it for the Bulls with all the money he would cost us, along with trying to get Zach LaVine a max contract? And Stacey, we talked about that earlier, the fact that it would really tie your hands in terms of future maneuverability. But, some of these guys are getting older. DeMar is 33. If you're going to go for it, I guess you go for it. And AK and Mark have shown us they're not afraid.
Well, I mean, your window right now is open for you to, go in. I mean, because you go back and you look at what are the Bulls going to be facing next year if they came back with the same roster, the exact same roster. You really can't, because, Miami's going to improve. Milwaukee's going to lose people, but they're going to improve. New York's going to be better. I mean, each team is going to do something to improve because the front office and the fan bases want to see improvement. And the Bulls are the same way. They're no different. So in my personal opinion, we know what they need. You definitely need a rim protector. You need a versatile big that can play the 4 to 5. We talked about that. Bobby Portis would be the guy that I would be looking at, someone similar to that. Jeff Green, that can come in and play 4 or 5 for you, that can shoot, stretch the floor, versatility, because that's what you're seeing right now in the finals. I mean, Robert Williams is showing you that's the kind of guy you need that can play both ends, that can run the floor in the end, can switch defensively, rim protect, and also alter shots. And that's been big in this series against Golden State. And that's something I'm looking at for the Bulls. That's where a guy like Bamba comes in, the kid Mitchell Robinson from the Knicks. Those are two kids that are very young, that bring the same kind of play style that Williams does, that could be beneficial for the Bulls.
Yeah, with the situation right now, the Bulls have traded some future draft picks. They really kind of are all in on this group. They've got DeMar under contract for 2 more years, and I think that AK and his group will look to maximize their ability to have a chance to win a championship in the next 2 years.
Well, and if you look at, the core group, and you've heard AK talk about this, bringing this core group back and building around those guys, getting the necessary pieces to go alongside the core group. And that's how you build a championship. This team has only been together, a year. The pieces, the core pieces, when you look at DeMar, you look at, Ball, Caruso, this is their first year together. And to be honest, if you watch them play this year when they were healthy, they look like they've been together for 3 or 4 years. So you got to be encouraged with that. If you're AK, that core unit is going to be tight. They know how to play well with one another. They're very unselfish. You get Zach back in the fold, and then you possibly get a very good first round pick that can come and play for you right away. Someone like Ayo did last year. Patrick Williams is going to be better. You're going to get him for a full season. The Bulls are in good position to build, get some really good pieces. It's going to come down to, Mark, do they have to give up someone if they really want to swing for the fences? Do they have to give up someone to get somebody? Or do they say, hey, look, you know what? There's this kid, Bamba, or whoever. We can offer them something. Maybe they don't match it. Their team doesn't match it. We're able to grab them up that way, and we don't have to spend as much money.
Yeah, and AK kind of tipped his hand a little bit. He did an interview with a TV outlet in Europe saying that, basically I discovered during this playoff season that we're not quite good enough yet. And I have to be aggressive in trying to bring another championship to Chicago. So, as we mentioned, all options are on the table. Don't be surprised if on draft night you hear the Bulls pulled off a blockbuster for DeAndre Ayton or anybody, because they are out to win a championship, and AK will settle for nothing less.
Exactly. And again, you know what? You have to get something good, you got to give up something. If it's a prospect, and I know Bulls fans don't want to give up, prospects, but at the same time, if what you're getting is going to put you over the hump and put you in a position to win a title, you got to do it. And that's what good teams and good organizations do. If they see something out there that's going to push them over the edge mark, they don't hesitate. There's no hesitation. Look, I guarantee you, Pat Riley in Miami, after seeing his team flame out the way they did, I guarantee you're going to see Pat Riley making some kind. I've already heard trade rumors that are already coming out of Miami. They're packaging, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and whoever else, some first-round picks trying to grab Bradley Beal. And can you imagine Bradley Beal being on that team?
Yeah.
And I saw where they made a trade, the trade proposal with the Bulls, where it was kind of like Kyle Lowry, Hero, some first-round picks for a sign and trade with Zach LaVine per se. I don't think that's going to happen, but you're starting to see all these different trade rumors come up. And where there's smoke, there's a fire. And if you know anything about Pat Riley, because I played for him, Pat Riley, when I played for him, he pulled a trade where he traded Glenn Rice, who was the franchise leading scorer, was the face of the franchise. He didn't hesitate to trade Glenn Rice for Alonzo Mourning. And when that trade went down, that elevated the Miami Heat up to a different level. They went and got in, traded for Tim Hardaway when Tim Hardaway was out of Golden State. So he's not afraid to pull the trigger and make his team better.
How about Pat Riley during his end of the season press conference this week? He told one of the reporters, who I guess he didn't like the tone of the question, he goes, "I'm 77 years old and I could do more push-ups than you right now." I mean, Pat Riley is as competitive as hell.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something. He ain't lying. Pat Riley, Pat Riley, I'm telling you something, man. Pat Riley he doesn't even look 77.
No.
When you look at Pat Riley got the slick back hair. He's well groomed all the time. I'm telling you, I played for Pat Riley's first year in Miami. And I can honestly tell you, I've never seen Pat Riley except maybe 3 times all year, Mark, where he came in unshaven, his hair ungroomed. 3 times all year. Pretty much every practice, he had the same clothes on every day. It was almost like Richard Gere in American Gigolo, where he has all these clothes, but they're all the same.
Yeah.
He's like, pull out a black shirt. Every day, pull out a black shirt and white shorts. He had the same gear on. It was pressed. It was always pressed and creased perfectly, hair in perfect place. Unbelievable. I mean, very, very meticulous when it comes to certain things.
Well, Stacey's been kind enough to join us for last hour and a half, and he's rehabbing from the hip replacement surgery. So we're going to let you go in just a second. Your Sooner women's softball team plays at 6:30. They're going to wrap up another World Series championship. So I guess that's no surprise to you. Oklahoma.
Well, no, it's not a surprise to me, because that's what we do at Oklahoma. We're all about championships, you see, Mark. And, last night I was watching the softball game, because I only watch it when the Sooners play.
Right.
Okay? And so Texas goes on the board. They get 1 run early. Everybody's all excited. Oh, we're going to win. And then Oklahoma proceeds to put up 16 runs. So, hey, just because you score a run, don't celebrate. It made everybody on the Sooner Nation mad, because they were celebrating. Plus, that's a big rivalry, Oklahoma versus Texas. So when they scored that first run, they got all excited. Oh, yeah, we scored one on the mighty Oklahoma Sooners. And then Oklahoma proceeded to open up a can of whoop ass and just poured it all on them with a little, give me the hot sauce, baby. Give me some, Chicago Fire 1871 on it, baby. Oh, yeah. Little shameless plug there, guys.
Well, you've been getting a lot of love on Twitter. People are really sampling that and enjoying it.
Listen, Mark. Everybody who buys that hot sauce loves it. It's amazing listening to the tweets and people sending what they're cooking on. Like, I just talked to a guy the other day who used it in the barbecue sauce, says he absolutely loves it. And he was a Baby Ray's guy. And, Baby Ray, I ain't gonna lie, hey, Baby Ray's good now.
Yes.
Baby Ray's good.
A lot of sugar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sweet.
But I tell you what, don't sleep on King's Q, baby. Oh, Lord. And then another one, somebody had some Mexican food the other night. They threw the salsa verde on there. A couple people sent me some pictures and videos of them actually receiving their hot sauce, which is cool. So I appreciate everybody who supports the hot sauce movement. Shout out to each and every one of you that has bought a bottle of our Give Me the Hot Sauce. That means a lot to me, and I'm glad you enjoy it, and keep buying it, because we're going to keep making it. And we have another flavor coming out very soon, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, it's going to be.
But it's an ice cream. It's going to be an ice cream.
Tell him, Tim.
The ice
It ain't gonna
cream?
be no ice cream.
Yeah, called the Rudy Gobert. It's a sherbet.
No, we're not. No.
I'll take 2 scoops of Rudy Gobert.
See, now you're gonna have people looking for some damn ice cream hot sauce. That ain't it. No.
If it happens, that's what we're doing.
Hey, well, I will tell you this, America. It's gonna be sweet and spicy.
Just like you.
So make sure to check it out.
That sounded creepy. Creepy.
Well, that's what I do.
That sounded creepy.
That's what I do.
That sounds creepy.
All right.
Hey, get down there for that, boy. Get out from there. Oh, Lord, I got the dog trying to get it some food.
So make sure to place your orders
Lord.
at GimmeTheHotSauce.com. So check it all out. It's all available there, and Timmy Whispers will take care of you. Got anything else to say before we say goodbye, Tim?
Hot sauce 21 for 21% off.
There you go.
Ooh, yeah.
Hey, Stacey, make sure you pass along our thanks to Dawn. She's obviously doing a great job taking care of you, watching the dogs and everything else.
Yes, she is. Yeah, she just got back from the grocery store, and she just walked in now. Yeah, she's doing a great job.
Yeah, we like what she said. It's like a 6-year-old with the flu.
What'd you say, Tim?
It's like taking care of a 6-year-old with the flu.
Wow, Tim. You know what? That was a personal conversation between you and her yesterday on the phone. Hey, babe, he's talking about it's like taking care of a 6-year-old with the flu. That's what Tim just said. He just told everybody on Twitch and in America.
Man,
you know what, Tim?
He's putting your business on the street.
Yeah. You like a whole refrigerator. He can't keep nothing in. Oh my God. But hey, listen, guys. I'm glad we were able to do the show today. It was awesome. I'm glad I was able to come down and do it via satellite, and I'm glad it went off without a hitch. We had a great guest on there with the great Chuck Swirsky.
And we got him to dance. That was a big victory.
We got him to dance.
Yeah.
And right now, baby, my hips. Woo, Don't sleep. I'm out dancing too, baby. I'll be out there with Swirsky now with a good hip. Woo.
People would pay to see that. There's no question.
Mark, guess what, Mark?
What?
And Don likes it too.
There we go.
It opens up a whole new world of options. Stacey King.
Whole new world.
Yeah. I got a book for you.
What's that?
Don't worry about it. I don't want to get too personal again.
Tim always knows the way to end the show. So with a little music, we're going to say goodbye to our audience here. We want to thank our great crew, the Harper Gang. I want to thank our producer, Maddie, done a great job. And we had a lot of fun with Chuck Swirsky. Coming up next week, we're going to have a very special guest for you. We're going to be joined on our next show by Bulls forward Patrick Williams, so make sure to look out for that. Give me the hot sauce, number 82 in the books. Stacey, you be careful on those stairs at home, okay?
Hey, baby, I'm moving up and down, baby. Oh, Lord, I feel like I'm 18 again, baby. Drive home safely, Chicago. And for me, walk up the stairs safely.